Good evening, everybody. System Chalk here with the 210th episode of our first YouTube run through House of Light, playing as the archaeologist. I've got some books to read, but we've been preparing for a salon. We've also been reading what'll be the last book of Autumn, at least, to do a little bit of skill building. Again, this is a little bit of a slump in terms of the overall playthrough because there's a bunch of further stories to go through, but we're more or less done exploring the house. I do have a couple of ideas in terms of how we might be able to work on a few of these things. And of course, I also have the option of fast forwarding, but there's just enough interesting things in this game, and there's enough that we can get out of the books that I still feel some value in cycling through them. And the important thing is that once we finish these, our rate of acquisition for books is going to be slower. And so as a result, we can maybe turn our attention, like the new information or the attention that we can draw on is more, or is less about getting new information and more about sort of what inferences can we draw that maybe we haven't highlighted yet. So it will also not just be me sort of silently playing the game and hitting the fast forward button a whole lot. But anyways, Deaths and Their Evasions. Father Stanislav John Schaller writes of the means and limitation of passage between the orders of the Mansus. No long names, hours. Unusually, Father John has written this book in Fusine, for he says especial secrecy. He speaks very cautiously of the exceptions that can sometimes be made to the edicts of Chancel and Calyptra, and hints at the means by which he successfully returned a lantern long to flesh. Schaller mentions most cautiously of all that he has been permitted to see a book that speaks more deeply on the matter, but that it was surrendered into the shadow of a covenant stone of the Watchman's Tree. It can be retrieved if the 99th wink is reserved under the edict's liminal. So I feel at this point it's worth taking some time to see. And actually, there's one thing I'm not certain about for this item, but so the key on this one is the 99th wink reserved under the edict's liminal. So in this case, right, you can kind of get the idea. It's like, okay, so I need to sort of sleep with edict's liminal, and this might get me something. Please tell me I have edict's liminal. Yes. And then if we take, sure, we'll use our tryst for this one. I may wind up regretting that, but okay, crafting in bed is not safe. If we want to make something, I will need to get out of bed, but if I want to cure a malady, I can use skills and memories with something restorative like fresh linen or a beverage. So, okay, so it kind of feels like we're onto something, but what else am I missing? And the trick here is it's the idea in the shadow of the covenant stone of the Watchman's Tree. It can be retrieved if the 99th wink is reserved under the edict's liminal. And so I've always interpreted this as saying that, where is it? This thing, the inscribed stone, a stone tablet with rows of badly worn scratches that once probably were writing. I always took this as the covenant stone. There's a couple of other ones that sort of hint that this is how you can do it, but this is how you can get a lost treasure of the house. Sleep with the stone as a pillow. I don't know why, but I know a little of what the Calyptra has decreed and what they have permitted. So I will confess the way I actually found out about this was, I believe if you click on the with button, right? So this has got a restorative and a beverage, which isn't present for these, but it does highlight as something that can be used. It is written, Musgrave, fourth of the De Wolf line, writes tentatively about the Covenant of Brankrug and the legacy of the sacred inks he calls Incausta Potentialia. As the light passeth through a prism into many colors, so the great ink separateth into the lesser inks, and the lesser inks into inks minor. Musgrave coyly refuses to talk about the great inks, or else refuses to admit he doesn't know much about them. He insists that Ugol and Stargol, which can be mixed with sufficient nectar or sky aspect, are sufficient for most befitting purposes. We'll just put that up in the corner there. A True History of Valentine de Wolf, written in the third person by Valentine de Wolf, rarely coherent, though it includes some useful footnotes on falconry and on exotic veterinary medicine. Valentine is obsessed with the meaning of the De Wolf coat of arms. on a field, or a chevron and arched gulls between two corby heads, erased sable in chief and wolf sajant sable in base. Long have the two birds pursued my blood, yet one is no crow, yet it is darker. Long as the wolf rolled itself in gold like a clovered cow, until its slobberings stain our thoughts. Honey, the Comprehensive Guide. Harvey Haddington, pilot, polymath, confectioner, writes with great enthusiasm about the marvelous work of the bee. Haddington insists that all the primary aspects, nectar, scale, heart, lantern, moth, grail, are possessed by bees and expressed in honey. Clearly, he points out that there are only 6 primary aspects, as a honeycomb has only 6 angles. Ugal ink is prepared with these techniques, but so is Skinshuck mead, and only Skinshuck requires honey. Just as any beverage or foodstuff can be improved with the addition of honey, so any garden is improved with the presence of bees, even those bloody blumberendi. Introduction to Histories. The 17th century mystic and antiquarian Claude Hirsalt describes divergent incidents in 5 major histories. The prologue warns at length of the iniquities of one Julian Coseley, a former colleague who Hirsalt now describes darkly as a worm of worms. It seems Coseley advised Hirsalt early in the writing of the book, but Hirsalt later became suspicious. Hirsalt identifies blood, silver, design, and the worms as the central axes of each of the histories, and claims that the so-called second history is the true one. To a Pale Lady, a collection of Franklin Bancroft's letters to Ava de Wolfe. There is a substantial body of erotic pleading and half-finished poetry, but also learned discursions on matters mythical and marine, as well as notes towards a comic opera on which Franklin and Ava were apparently collaborating. Do not return, O my light, to the sea. None of us can be what we were. That is history's curse. None of us may know what we may be. That is history's gift. Your mothers and the mothers of your mothers are caught in eternity's jaws like a robe hem in a trap. It is the pearl that shines, but the tide that returns. The Orchid Transfigurations, a feast, a compilation of quasi-Rosicrucian allegories, supposedly by Robert Flood. This is in the original Latin. The illustrations are certainly striking. They flush the skin and glow beneath the eyelids after the book is closed. We must devour to be devoured. We cannot be undevoured, as we cannot be unborn. And Deaths and Their Evasions. Father Stanislav John Schaller writes of the means and limitation of passage between the orders of the Mansis. No long names ours. Unusually, Father John has written this book in Fucine, for, he says, a special secrecy. He speaks very cautiously of the exceptions that can sometimes be made to the edicts of Chancel and Calyptra, and hints at the means by which he successfully returned a lantern long to flesh. Schaller mentions most... Oh, sorry, we've read this fully. I spent the time expanding on this, but we'll finish it all the way through. Schaller mentions most cautiously of all that he has been permitted to see a book that speaks more deeply on the matter, but that it was surrendered into the shadow of a covenant stone of the Watchman's Tree. It can be retrieved if the 99th wink is reserved under the edict's liminal. I do apologize. I was on autopilot there. Now, I don't think it hurts to... I'll maybe not use the Arab, but we will get the last little bit of scale that I can. And then in 52 seconds, we'll be able to make... Oh, sorry, there's one other thing I meant to do, which is to earn some money. There's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. It's more just so I don't have to break the floor in later. Although it's not like we're doing okay for money, and we've got about a season and change before we get the stipend. I will confess too, I have done a fish-oriented salon before, but I don't know. It's a fun one to do. I believe. All right, I don't need to guess. Let's just see what this gives us. The Hissing Key, an account of the ascent of the hour called the Mother of Ants by the Bosque scholar Mech of the Theban branch of the House of Leith. Mech is not sympathetic to the Mother of Ants, who he calls the Milk Thief. He reviles her for her part in the death of the Seven Coils, which he presents as a treacherous conspiracy. The milk thief conspires with the Legion Echidna and the hour-to-be called Chiliarch, who now more generally rendered as Colonel, to unseam the Seven Coils with feathers and drown her in salt. The Colonel thus ascends to hour status. The jealous milk thief, once the Colonel's priestess, seduces Echidna into lending her the hissing key to enter the manses through the savage door, beginning her own ascent to name and ultimately hour. Okay, so that's a hindsight book, which maybe we can fit, but I have my doubts. And we do have 2 from Serpents and Venoms. You know what? I'll take it. All right, Stargazy Pie. No librarian of Hush House has ever died during the preparation of serpent milk. Thankfully, this was true yesterday and is still true today. This one I think we're just going to set aside. And our beloved mushroom meringue. Okay, so let me just double check what we had here. So we were going Stargazy Pie, pickled pilchards, poached mackerel we don't have, mushroom meringue we do, and we're making pickled mackerel. So we're actually in pretty good shape for the salon. We will think about drinks in a minute, but given that I have 2 lessons to work with now, I'm going to want to work on that first. I also probably want to do more fishing. Okay. Let's go... So first of all, let's consider our candidates for leveling up Serpents and Venoms. Under normal circumstances, I would have said, you know, 1 for Wolf Stories, 1 for Serpents and Venoms, but it's probably sensible for me to do Wolf Stories and Rhyme and Remember. I like these 2 because they're both level 5. So I think that's how I'm going to order it. So priority number 1, let's take care of all of the scale stuff that we have here. I'm not expecting tons, but confinement, inescapable confinement, it's definitely one of those. Hindsight. Satisfaction doesn't do much for me here. Okay, so let's do the intuition and stolen secret. And in this case, I'm going to apply the health. At last, I'm something of an authority in this. So the next step, of course, is what about the 5 points for Rhyme and Remembrance? So we've got Fog, Contradiction, and Salt. We need... Oh, sorry, and a Confounding Parable. Well, with that, we just take the old wound, and then we'll make a new one at the Practic Garden dummy. And actually make one, not the Libidic Tincture. Explore an old wound to awaken the violent resonances within. Alright, so that's... Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we're good. I was just worried that I would replace the old wound prematurely. Okay, so now I guess at this point I need to start thinking about drinks, but the drawback I have here is I'm actually much less certain on... So like it's all well and good for me to say, okay, I'm going to invite these specific people, but especially with Eason, I'm actually not 100% sure I know his tastes. So Schaller and Wakefield can get by with water, so we'll actually draw some of that up right now. And then for Fraser, we can get by with more of the whiskey. So I guess my next question is, do I have something easy and forgy for Hokebald and, well, I guess it wouldn't be forge for Eason, but witching to say, amusingly enough, would also work for Schaller. But yeah, if you know, now that I see it, I actually think he takes Blue Crown tea. Which, conveniently enough, reminds me that if I make Honeyscar Jasmine tea, that's probably enough for Hokebald. Right. Okay, couple of assumptions that I'm running with on here, but I feel reasonably good about them. I don't even remember if I have already made Honeyscar tea, but we should have plenty of Honeyscar Jasmine on the bridge, so it won't be that big of a loss. A hot drink with forge, nectar, and rose. All right, unhatched hymns. Hymns attributed to St. Lucia the Eyeless, patron of glassworkers and name of the hour called Menascate. The hymns venerate every sanctioned hour, celebrating them as the sun undivided, but also suggesting that each hour may become the next. Madrigad to watchman, watchman to wolf, and so on. The hymn of the phases celebrates the Menascate from whom we do not turn, for the truth which is beauty, the beauty which is truth, and the perfect balance between the two. The hymn of the reflections, more puzzlingly, celebrates the Menascate as the sister of Janus, mother of Shadow, whose visage wondrous in emptiness can reveal all truths. It was a little short-sighted of me because there was no other use for the scale, but we're past thinking about this. A 99 winks, and I wake with a book cradled in my arms. The 3 and the 3 St. Chiavi manuscripts. Pour it out. Right, we're still waiting for the poached mackerel. Who am I missing? Right, Hokebald, because of the tea. Alright, so at this point we're kind of waiting for the Salon. I could write the invitations, obviously, but that's not going to take that long. I'll maybe get Rhyme and Remembrance leveled up, and then we'll worry about the rest. The skill is now level 6. Its power aspects have also increased. I guess we're forced at this point. At last, I'm something of an authority. Well, that's not true, actually. Last, I'm something of an authority in this. Okay. So yeah, we can. I think we can do some invitations at this point. So there's one easy one, which is Hokebald, but we'll worry about that later. I'll maybe just try and do it in the order that I've listed people. So Fraser would be number 1. But the question is, how do I get the scale in here? Oops. You know, amusingly, I don't think any of the, oh, yeah, no, I don't have any scale that I can. All right, never mind then. Eason. What do I even need for Eason again? Right, heart. I'm sure we can do that. I'll do Wakefield next, assuming that I can somehow get the winter in here. Probably through Ragged Crossroads. Schaller should be heart, so we could actually use weaving and not working again. So from there we'll take, I mean, I could invite Hokebald right away too, I suppose, but oh, Schaller's probably Nectar. Yeah. Keep forgetting that. Okay, skill is now level 6. Preservation, the earth endures and so do I. So this is what a top level of an element of the soul looks like. Health, dwelling place of the soul. So that's 4 heart, 4 nectar, and 3 scale if I ever need to bring the big guns. Move gingerly while the pain lasts. There's our poached mackerel, so we just need to make sure that there's enough room on the table for it. And there's the honey scar jasmine, so I do wonder if I have room for it, so I'll pour it out first. What was I about to do? So I'm really scatterbrained today. Right, invitations. Nope, invitations are already being worked on. Oh, okay, that's why I got. Okay, Zachary, Eason, Schaller. I don't need to make this difficult, so I'll just go to the pale desk. And then I am going to invite Hokeball, just I don't get to use a typewriter with him. All right. Let's see if I've got room in the quarters. I mean, sort of. But then I'm not going to have a spot for the water. I'll worry about that later. All right, now I just need to post it. And last but not least, let's go to Ambrose's desk. Okay. So yeah, obviously no Curious Hunch, but we'll be getting that in a little bit. Right now we're really just making money. I won't worry about the invitations until tomorrow. A little water splashes on the stones of the well to nourish the mosses there. And so the real question here is... Oh, and you know what? There was a cup of honey scar jasmine. You know what? We'll just keep that on the bridge. Okay, so based on all of that, let's take the opportunity to do some fishing. Actually, we'll only have the one chance, so... But I can live with that. So we're now at the point where we're considering what the winter is going to look like. So as always, we will see whether or not the season crosses over into Numa. Assuming that it doesn't. Sorry, just doing a little rearranging. So what I might do is wait to see what happens at the end of the Affair of the Oriflamme heist. We'll see who arrives as a guest before sending out the invites for the salon. And then I think we'll still be in a good place to host the salon the same day. I guess a lot of it hinges on how long it takes me to find out who's visiting. And then if it is Numa, we will definitely complete Spencer's story. Again, this is just purely for my interest. I like the idea of having Spencer, concluding that story with Spencer in Numa as opposed to any of the other seasons. But yeah, so resolve the Affair of the Oriflamme heist, host the salon, of course. So I just need to sort out what I'm doing. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. Yeah, so sorry, that was the salon taken care of. Affair of the Oriflamme heist, we'll see where that goes. We will open up the sealed vault, and then we will also... You'll notice that I haven't gotten a Newman. That's because I'm assuming that I will be leveling up, or I'll be reading the 3 and the 3. All right, and it is winter. This is one we can actually just start reading right away. Well, okay. Easier said than done. I've actually kind of put myself in... So let's just see. Core Arab, Fet, Health, Metal, Fost, Shapt, Tristan... Okay, so everything is actually built around the salons right now. So technically, I can't go reading these unless it's... unless I'm using my health. As it is, the 3 and the 3 seems like actually quite a difficult one for me to read. We might be able to get away with it with the fog, but let's think about the salon first. Okay, I am slightly curious. So if I do the fog here and I do, I think Tradi's Tradi's Mahira covers it. So we still need another 5, so I'm not going to get that from just a plus Trist. Yeah, it would be the Wormwood. Well, you know what? That's not so bad, actually, because then I just say, you know what? Don't worry about the fog. But yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to wait to see who the new guest is before we go any further. What's happening in the world beyond Brandkrug? What visitors will the season bring? The affair of the Oriflamme heist. Oriflamme's auction house is never robbed. But what if it has been? What if somehow priceless treasures have been replaced with pricey forgeries? How could we even be sure? Visitors with an interest in knock and forge mysteries will want to talk about this. Hokebald, Magister Hokebald, employed by Oriflammes to make improvements to their vault, though he might have thought he might have found useful information at Hush House, although he was careful to point out that it wasn't very useful. Daymare was clearly concerned that she might be blamed for the heist, real or not, justly or not, but her researches at Hush House gave her hope that she might escape suspicion. Dr. Blackwood suspected that someone at Oriflammes had invented the story of the heist themselves. She couldn't imagine why, but she learned enough from me to be taken seriously by her contact there. Zachary Wakefield was close-mouthed about his suspicions of what had really happened at Oriflammes, but he did share one hint. One door closes, another opens. And another. Coquille, Princess Coquille, investigating ways by which the Oriflamme heist might have been managed, happened across something rather smashing. And Madame Bichet thought that she'd identified oddities in Oriflamme's account of their security measures, and what she found at Hush House encouraged her to look into the matter further. A story has no beginning or end. Arbitrarily, one chooses that moment of experience from which to look back or from which to look ahead. Graham Greene. Nothing particular is afoot. Any of these visitors this season will likely just want a general consultation. And it is Azita, who I believe we don't actually have in our book yet. We've got Lala. Cool. All right, so that makes me feel better about sending out the letters. And actually, at this point, we'll use the... Send an invitation to a visitor. Stamp, envelope, send. Miss Azita Bukhara. Nothing particular is afoot. Any visitors this season will likely just want a general... Okay, we've got that line twice. And as nice as it would be to have her for the salon, if I don't satisfy her curiosity, I believe we will need to wait for the next event to go ahead. But what I am going to do here, I was working on my list of people with certain traits. So we've got Azita is interested in Edge Sky, and she eats Edge. I will do the same for my guests, but we can worry about that later. What I just want to do here is get the invitations out, so I don't need to worry about that at the start of the next stream. Excellent. All right, the postmistress examines the letter and deems it sufficient. It'll go with the next post, she assures me. The other thing that I can do is take a look at the Oriflamme heist. I was trying to see if I could find it by inspection. Guess this one? Yep, there we go. Oh, that's a lot of people. What actually happened at Oriflammes? A heist? A forgery? A fraud? Nothing at all. So, Coquille, Dagmar, Olympi, Hokebald, and Zachary. I mean, this is a salon in its own, basically. All right. Well, I'm already committed to the salon that I'm doing, so I'll just make a note. The real problem with this one is that it is expensive to invite Hokebald. So if we just go, on a fishing expedition, we're blowing an Orpiment Exultant just to bring him in. But I mean, whatever. I don't need to hoard in the game. So there's a few things that we're going to do for the next broadcast. I will have a chat with Azita. I'm not expecting any like breakthroughs, just because I'm getting her contact information for the book, basically. We will host the salon, and then we will still need to make a decision in terms of the book that I'm reading, actually, but I will set that aside. I have a feeling we're probably actually going to spend quite a bit of time working out lessons, but we'll do that in the future. Thank you very much for watching, and see you tomorrow. Take care.